Okay. Oh, it says setting up your meeting for YouTube Live. Okay. And now it looks like we are live. Hi, everyone. It is 5:03 on Tuesday. Well, for us, Josh Brackett is with us. And he is in Phoenix, Arizona now. You know, they were moving, so his time is different right now. But for the rest of us, it's 5 p.m. on Tuesday, which means it's live at 5 time. It is great to see you guys virtually. Hopefully, before too long, we'll be able to be virtual in person with the brackets. That's what we're going for. So just know that's coming. So exciting things. I don't really have any announcements. You guys know that Christmas is going to be here before we know it. We don't have any plans for a Christmas party yet because of COVID, but we're still going to do Christmas lists. If you've got a coach and you haven't completed your list yet, be thinking about contacting them and getting that done. They have to be in by the end of October, and we're about to be halfway through October. So we still have plenty of time, but wanted to put that on everyone's radar. And that is it. We are fresh into October, so next week we will do our drawing for the for the winner of the prize. I think we're doing $100 Amazon card. I'm not sure. I have to get back to you guys on that. So but that is all I've got. Josh, I'm going to take a few minutes to send the link out individually so we can have a few people join us.
Sounds good.
I'm not seeing that we have anyone with us yet. Let me refresh and see how we're doing. Yeah, not seeing anyone yet. So give me just a moment and I will send out the link individually to a few people, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. Silence is weird sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay.
But I have sent the link to, I think, like 10, 12 people. So we'll probably get a few. We'll probably get a few that hop on here in just a minute.
Okay.
But if you did, I'm gonna refresh and see if we've got anyone. I'll also put something in the chat. Okay, so I'm not seeing anyone. We might want to go ahead and get started, and we can bring those that join later up to speed. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Josh. Hand it over.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are still in our series on healthy eating, being healthy, foods and understanding diets and things like that. And a few weeks ago, I talked about like my diet and what works for me. And we talked about like what's a good next thing for us to talk about. And so we decided we are going to talk about science. Yeah, and I'm pretty excited about it. So we're going to talk about what's called macronutrients and micronutrients and understanding how your body processes foods and how your body burns and stores energy. And this is something that this is probably one of my most passionate topics because I think it's very misunderstood. And so there are three macronutrients. Well, maybe four, but we're going to talk about three and then I'll mention the fourth. There are fats, there are proteins, and there are carbohydrates. And macro simply means large. You need large amounts of these three types of nutrients in order to sustain your body. And not necessarily large amounts. That's not, we're not talking like the size of a semi truck or a blue whale or anything. What we're talking about is just your body needs more of these nutrients than the micronutrients, which are small nutrients. So micro just means small amounts. That's all you need. And there is a fourth macronutrient that a lot of diets and stuff consider, and that's alcohol. The reason it is a macronutrient is it does provide calories for you, for your body to use as energy, about seven calories per gram, but it provides zero nutrition. There's nothing nutritional about alcohol. So this is where I think a lot of people don't understand macronutrients. The three macronutrients, again, fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram, right? So that means for every gram of carbohydrates you eat, it is 4 calories that you are consuming. Okay. Things that are heavy in carbohydrates are rice, potatoes, rice, potatoes, breads, pastas, all of the stuff that we love, right? Sugar has a ton of carbohydrates. And those, we're going to talk a lot more about carbohydrates. Second is protein. Protein is also 4 calories per gram, but it is burned in your body differently. And so it lasts a little bit longer. Yes, it's the same amount of calories, but because it's a slightly more dense food, it takes longer for your body to digest it than carbohydrates does. So it lasts a little bit longer. It also helps promote muscle retention. And then the third, and this one's going to blow you guys away, is fats. And this is not a bad thing. So I want to start with that. This is not a bad thing. Fats are 9 calories per gram, right? And what are your fats? Olives, egg yolks, almonds, nuts, avocados are very high in fat, but these are all very healthy fats. That's the thing. A lot of people hear the word fat and they think, oh, if I eat too much fat, I'm going to get fat. And that's just not the case because you can't physically eat as much fat. You can't sit there and eat a bag of avocados the way you can a bag of chips, right? And it's because of how your body processes the foods. It's because they're so much more dense. Fats are so much more dense. If you think about like an avocado, you could sit there and eat an avocado with like cottage cheese on it or something, and you're probably gonna be full. Now I'm gonna say, I do love an avocado with cottage cheese and what was I saying? Oh, bacon. Oh, bacon. and then pour a little bit of balsamic vinegar on there. And I'm telling you, that's a whole meal right there. That's all you can eat. So, but the fats make you full for a lot longer, right? So it's a very, very important component. And this is where I think a lot of there's been a lot of trickery and marketing. If you go to the store and you see something that says low fat food, what that means is that it's high in carbohydrates, right? And why is that important? Well, it's important because your body can only store so much carbohydrates, right? That those carbohydrates are broken down into the most basic form, which is what's called glucose, really. And that your body has to have glucose in it in order to survive, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. There is another fuel source. So glucose is your most important fuel source that people use. But there's another one that we've talked about before called ketones. So when your body is producing less glucose, then it increases a different fuel source called ketones, which is actually where the word in the diet keto comes from, is the word ketones. So it's burning a different fuel source. And that is a different kind of trigger. The problem with glucose is that your body can only store so much, and it's called glycogen. It's your extra glucose in your body is stored in your liver and muscles, and they hit this certain limit, right? It's like if you have too much water, right, in a bowl, it's going to overflow. Well, it's got to go somewhere. Where's it going to go? Right? It doesn't mean that the water is just not there. It goes somewhere. Same thing with glucose. When your liver is full and your muscles are full and you can't store any more glucose, or glycogen is what it's called scientifically, but glucose, then it is stored in your body as fat. There's nowhere else for it to go. So all excess energy is stored in your body as fat. And that's where a lot of people just don't understand, like, how your body burns energy, how it burns and consumes these different type of macronutrients. So I eat a very high fat diet. I only eat once a day. We talked about that in our last one, right? And it works really well for me. It is very, very, very hard to transition the first couple of weeks, but when you do, then it's a lot easier to maintain. You're eating less foods because you're not as hungry as often, and you don't have these sugar crashes that are caused from eating a lot of carbohydrates. And that's very important, because a lot of people don't understand, like, if you sit down in the morning and you have, let's come up with a current American breakfast, right? Let's say a bowl of cereal and some toast with jelly on it and orange juice, right? That seems pretty American. That right there has close to 150 grams of carbohydrates, which exceeds the entire total daily of what you should be having, right? So whenever your body takes in all those carbohydrates and it's converted into to glucose for fuel for your body, then any more carbohydrates that you eat throughout the day are just going to be stored as fat. Your body can't, unless you are a marathon runner and you are running multiple miles every day, then it doesn't matter what you eat, right? So because your body is burning so much fuel, right? But most of us aren't that way. I've been sitting most of the day, right? So I'm very cautious on what I eat and watch what I eat, and I understand how my body processes that food. And I think that's very, very important. So that's the main thing that we wanted to talk about today was macronutrients and how your body takes those carbohydrates and burns them, and how it's different than how it's burning your proteins and your fats, right? So it's very, very important. So if you are trying to lose weight, right, the most effective thing that you can do is increase the amount of fats that you are eating and decrease the amount of carbohydrates that you are eating. And that's it. I know it's not that simple. It's a lot harder than that, right? I mean, it's because you've got cravings and it's very difficult. And I've had to find a lot of ways to kind of curb my cravings, right? So one of my biggest things was chips and salsa. Oh my goodness. I love chips and salsa, y'all. Like, love chips and salsa. I can sit there, I can go to a restaurant and I can eat 3 bowls of chips and salsa. Who's with me? Who else can do that? I mean, seriously. And I now, when I go to a Mexican restaurant or I really want chips and salsa, I do pork rinds instead because they have 0 carbohydrates, but I still get that crunch and I still get that salt that I need, that flavor and that. So, and is it the exact same? No, it's not, but it works. It curbs that craving, and that's really what we have to do is learn how to curb those cravings. So now the other side of this thing, right, is micronutrients, not macronutrients, micronutrients. So what are micronutrients? Again, it's like all these nutrients that your body needs, you just don't need a ton of it, right? So calcium, vitamin C, vitamin A, beta carotene, believe it or not, salt. Salt is a micronutrient that you need. Your body has to have salt in order to survive. It's an electrolyte. And your body needs electrolytes in order to function properly. And there's actually a lot of like avid runners and stuff like that really have to increase their salt intake because if you don't have enough salt in your body, then it can cause a lot of imbalance issues in your sweat, which is also a necessity, and then like how your body is functioning, how you're processing food, your mental clarity. It can really kind of wreak havoc. So salt is actually something that you need. And I know people say like, oh, well, you hear all these doctors will say, well, and I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving medical advice and I'm not trying to tell you all of that. Can't do that. Don't want to do that. I don't want to be a doctor. That sounds not very fun to me. But, some doctors will say, oh, you need to decrease the amount of salt that or change your diet or all different kinds of things, right? And again, it goes back to a lot of the things that we hear are because of people that we are talking to that are living unhealthy lives and aren't and don't understand again how your body processes the foods, the micronutrients, the macronutrients, and having that balance. So that is a lot of scientific jargon on macronutrients and micronutrients. And I want to hear from you guys on any thoughts that you have, like any questions you have about fats and proteins and carbohydrates and all of the vitamins and minerals and things that we need.
Yes, perfect timing. We do have a question, and I actually love this question, and I can't wait for the answer. So he says, so when I be hungry, it's a mind thing, or am I really hungry?
No, this is great. Okay, so there is a time continuum that exists between your stomach and your brain. Okay, the thing that makes you hungry almost all of the time is that you look at the clock or you have some sense of circadian rhythm in your brain that says, oh, it's noon, I'm hungry. And as soon as you break that, right, and it can be broken, I promise. Lindsay and I both we are huge on fasting. We do fasts a couple of times a year. And it's hard, y'all, right? But it can be done. It is possible. Most of mine are normally just 3 days, right? And but every single day, I don't eat until 6 or 7 p.m. at night. So I will go I will eat from like 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. And then I will not eat again until the next day at 6 o'clock, right? So, but even in that scenario, even there, I still have this mental of, oh, it's 6 o'clock, I must be hungry, right? It's because there's a time thing there. That's why. So you break that, And you now have control over your body, right? Because you can control, you can't, it's a mind, your mind can be, you can control those hunger cravings. Right now, it is currently where I am at in Phoenix, it is 3:23, and I can tell you I am not hungry. Not hungry. So can I control my 6 o'clock? Yes. Is it going to be harder for me? Yeah, of course it is. No, I mean it's not, your body needs food, right? You have to have food to survive. But being in control of it is really where like this whole power and mental clarity comes from. I hope that answers that.
It did, because that question came from True. And ironically enough, as you were speaking, he said that is totally true in response to what you were saying. So
yes,
yeah, I agree. I've started to like trust my body to tell me, unless I'm stressed, because I know that when I'm stressed, I won't get hungry, period. So I'll make myself eat at least once a day if I'm like super stressed. But if it's a normal day and I'm doing okay and I don't get hungry, I don't eat until I get hungry, because I'm like, my body's going to tell me when I need stuff. Is that a healthy way to go about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about it, even like our ancestors, right? Even back in Jesus's day, right? They didn't eat 3 meals a day. It didn't exist. That's something we made up as Americans. We made up the 3 meals a day, right? We made up this, oh, well, you need to eat all of these small snacks and stuff like that too. You know, like, oh, no, you need to have 7 meals a day or 9 meals a day or whatever. No, your body tells you exactly what you need. If it says, hey, I'm hungry, listen to it, right? The problem is you have to first break the cycle before, because otherwise, every couple of hours, your body's going to be telling you that you're hungry, because you've got to, you got to control it first, right? So once you get control of it, then you listen to your body. And it does take time. This is not an overnight thing. It's not like, oh, I'm in control right now, right? So it takes time, and you've got to learn and listen to your body and adapt to what your needs are. And everybody's a little bit different, right? So Lindsay eats less than I do. I mean, she's a woman. She has less muscle than I do. She has less need. I work out for an hour a day. So everybody's a little bit different. I need a little bit more carbohydrates than she does, because I do very intense workouts and runs. Well, I know that because I now know myself, because I was able to break that cycle and start listening to my body and what it needs.
Yeah, I love that, Josh. Okay, we got more good questions. And I will say that I didn't bring my computer charger, so I might have to be aware of my battery level. But that's okay. Let's do as much as we can.
Let's do it.
It says I have a half-hour battery, so I think we're gonna be fine on that. Anyways, okay, so we will follow along the same vein that we just kind of got into. But True, I see both of your questions. I see all three of them, so we'll get to them. But this one is kind of related to the mind and eating, and this is a good one. Why is it that people tend to overeat when they are depressed?
Ooh, yeah. So there are things called, oh gosh, I'm going to probably get this wrong. Serotonin and dopamine, right? So there are chemicals inside of your brain that are produced, and I'm not a doctor. I have studied this, but I don't understand this as well as I honestly want to. But your body produces negative chemicals in your brain whenever you're feeling depressed, right? So, and that's why things like, if you have sunshine and good smells and things like that, then it can produce other good chemicals inside of your brain. Oxytocin is a bad one, I think, but serotonin is a good one. I think that's right. But so you have the bad and you have the good, right? So that's why it's actually good. Like if you are feeling depressed, it's really, really good for you and your brain and your body to do something nice for somebody else. That's actually one of the fastest, easiest ways to increase your serotonin. I think it's serotonin and dopamine, the good chemicals. I'm just going to call them the good chemicals in your brain. So what I like to do is actually a few times a day. One of the best things that you can do, like if you work and you're able to do it, one of the best things that you can do is take a 5-minute walk outside with a friend and talk about something that is unwork related, right? That is a huge boost in good chemicals for your brain because you are hitting multiple different factors there that your brain recognizes as good things. So when you have the bad chemicals in your brain, then you tend to overeat more because that overeating produces additional of the bad chemicals. And it's kind of like when you, I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying to think of a good example there, you know, but it's like when you smile, right? So if I smile, then other people around me start to smile. It's contagious. That's the word. That's what I'm looking for. It's the same thing. It's not exactly the same, but that's kind of what it is, right? You're depressed, you're not feeling good, you overeat, you're not feeling good because you're overeating. It makes you just say, okay, well, I already feel bad about myself. I don't understand, right? So I might as well just keep eating. Might as well keep doing the thing that at least the food is making me full, right? So does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think so. And True, let us know if that addressed kind of the information you were looking for. Because we can definitely try again. And so another good question from True is, what is the best protein to have? And that might depend on a few things, but I'm curious to see
Yeah.
what
So
you
there's a few like really, really good proteins. Believe it or not. So I do a couple of things. There's cricket protein. Aha. Yeah, really, like crickets, literally. So you can get cricket protein. I'm not saying it's the best. I'm just saying, you know, it's actually very, very good for your body because it's high in fiber also. There's egg white protein that you can have. Egg white protein is a very easily digestible protein. And then it depends on what you like. Fish and chicken are both high in protein and low in fat, right? I like higher fat proteins, so I like things like bison and things like I'm gonna think of it. Pete, it's nope. Hold on, I just lost it. I lost it. It's gonna come back to me. Pork, thank you. There it is. Yes. So like sausages and things like that, those are also, they're very high in fat, but they have a lot of protein as well. So I eat a lot of, believe it or not, I eat a ton. Last night alone, I had a half a pound of bacon. Literally. Yes, I did. So a half a pound of bacon. I eat a lot of sausage. I do eat a lot of chicken too. I eat a lot of chicken. But there are things that for proteins that are more easily digestible and have other benefits as well, if that makes sense. Like the fiber.
Yeah. I love that. I always thank God whenever I realize how much I like fish. I know fish is super good for you and it's one of my favorites. So, but I also really, really love red meat, steak and ground beef. And I know that those are not as good for you as like chicken and fish. Why is that?
So there's a misconception there too. Like a lot of where you hear that that's not good for you is whenever you are already living an unhealthy life and you've lived an unhealthy life for a long time. So your arteries have started to start clogging and things like that. And when you have that and you are adding to it, then the red meats, you know, tend to have more heart related effects, if that makes sense, on your arteries and things like that. There's nothing at all wrong with like me I'm not a young man anymore, but you know, I've lived a relatively healthy life. I'm still young enough to correct, if that makes sense. And everybody on this call it should be too. You know, so, but where I'm trying to explain it, trying to think of how to explain it. But basically, if you have lived a unhealthy life for a very long time, then
Mm,
it is hard on your body to have some of those red meats and things like that.
okay, I see. I see.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Man, these are such good questions and I love them. Thank you, True, for awesome questions. For anyone else that is tuning in, I know we had Glenda and Regina for a minute there. If you guys are still hanging on, looks like you are. We got 4 watching and I'm one of them. So,
Nice.
so you guys let me know if you have any other questions and we will talk about them. We were able to answer True question, says that totally makes sense. So
Cool.
got that. That's good. That's good. I kind of wish my roommate was home to overhear this because she is trying to become a registered dietitian.
Oh,
She
wow.
masters now, so um she's trying to get her license. So
Nice.
she loves to talk about food and dieting and sources of protein and stuff like that. So kind of wish she was here, but she'd have a lot of good things to say. We do have one more question. It has to do with the previous question about why do people overeat when they are depressed. This question is how do you deal with a person who has depression or with a person with depression? And so yeah, I know it's hard. It can be difficult, whether it's you that is experiencing depression or someone that you're close to, that can be a difficult thing. And this is a difficult question to answer because it kind of depends on your definition of deal with. I mean, personally, I think therapy is a great idea. I think going to counseling is incredibly helpful. So helping that person find a therapist to speak to, I think is a great idea. And keep in mind, if this person is between the ages of 12 and 24, they can come to Immerse and we can help them find a therapist because we have a connection with the Centers for Youth and Families. And we even have some therapists that work at Immerse. So we'll be able to assist with that a little bit. I also think that relationships have a big part in someone's mental health. So encouraging those that have depression to, stay in contact with those they love and those that love them, I think can really, really help. And I just realized I could take all night to answer this question. But it's a big question. I think talking about that in person, True, would actually be really beneficial. So True, if you are in the OC, again, I introduced myself to True over the chat today. So I've actually not I've not met you, but if you come to the OC, I am there like all the time. You see what my face looks like, so find me and we can have a chat about this. I would love to try to maybe help the person that you're referencing. But yeah, Josh, did you want to address that that question a little bit too?
No, I will say I do think therapy. I've gone through bouts of depression as well throughout my life. No long term, thankfully, but few that have lasted a couple of months, honestly. And the number one thing that has helped me is therapy. Finding a way to do therapy that works for you too. Like something that did not work for me was just traditional therapy where you go into counseling once every week or 2 weeks or something like that, because that's not how my brain works. I needed something more frequent, and now they have apps and things like that you can do, and that's what I ended up doing my last time, which was about 2 or so years ago, and maybe 3 years ago. And I could literally just type all of my thoughts in this online diary, and my counselor would read it and respond within 24 hours, right? And that's what worked for me.
Cool.
Yeah, it worked out great because I've already moved on to like 14 other things because that's how my brain is wired, right? So I can't sit there once a week personally and remember and reflect on the previous week. I can't tell you what I ate for dinner last night. So, but So finding what works for you though, and finding, and it doesn't have to be necessarily even a therapist, just sometimes just somebody that'll listen, like having a friend that will listen
Yeah.
helps a ton. And I have this friend that he and I haven't seen each other in 6 years, and we talk at least once a week. And he lives in a completely different state. He lives in Texas, and we've just, he's the only person in college that was a friend of mine that I've kept in touch with. And we have that kind of relationship, right? And he's my best friend. And I don't need to see him every day for him to be my best friend. But he helps me and I help him, and we lean on each other.
Yeah, that's a really important answer, Josh. Because true, here's one thing. I'm not a mental health professional, but I will say this, just from the years that I have studied it off and on, is that like when you look at it this way, when you get a cut on your hand or on your finger, you can take a band-aid, you can put some Neosporin on the bandage, you can slap it on there and you're gonna be good to go. With people and with the mind, that there is never oh, this is what you're doing, do this. There is never like a one size fits all, and there's never a band-aid fix, which is what I just described. Band-aid fixes, oh, let me put this on here and it'll help. When it comes to people and individuals and the way the mind works, it really just depends on the person. So if you're trying to help this person, getting with them and learning about them and knowing specifics about what's going on is a good place to start. So, but that is a very good question. And I want you to know, True, that I know you are new here, but we have talked about mental health and emotions on this very live before. We've been doing Live at 5 with Lindsay and Josh for a while now, and they had a whole series about emotions and how they can affect your life and how you're able to address those emotions and live a happy life, even though sometimes your emotions might not be incredibly happy all the time. There's a way to do that, and there are great talks that we've had on here about such things. So I would love to send those your way, True. Again, come by Immerse sometime if you do. You might be in Life Base. I know some of our Life Base youth are not at Immerse all the time, like our outreach youth are. But if you're ever at Immerse and you want to come find me, we can chat about this. I would love to do that. But he does say, Josh, talking to y'all and getting advice helped me. Thanks a lot. Helped me out a lot.
Oh, yeah. Awesome, True.
Yeah, this is exactly what we're here for. This is why Live at 5 exists.
Yeah, definitely.
As it should be. I have 18 minutes left of my battery. And I do have a little bit of work to do after this, so I might need to call it there. This has been an awesome time, though. I think we've been live for like 40 minutes.
Yeah,
that's
a long
good.
time. This is good.
That's because of good questions. I love it. This is exactly how it should be. It's exactly how it should be.
Definitely.
So thank you guys for tuning in. Regina and True and Glenda, you guys are awesome. I think I said Regina. If I didn't, I meant to say her name too. I see you guys out there. Thank you, Josh, so much. This has been wonderful. Enjoy your new chapter in Phoenix. I know it's going to be really awesome and present a few challenges here and there as new chapters do. But to all of you guys stay safe, and we will be here at 5 p.m. on Tuesday next week.
Awesome.